chapter 6, verses 30 to 34, and then 53 to 56. And the Word of God says, "The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, 'Come with me by yourself to a quiet place and get some rest.' So they went away by themselves. In a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there again ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret and anchored there. As soon as they got out of the boat, people recognized Jesus. They ran throughout that whole region and carried the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, into villages, towns, or countryside, they placed the sick in the marketplaces. They begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. May God bless the reading of his word. And now we have Reverend Laura preaching for us this morning.
Oh.
I'm going to go with the handheld.
Okay.
Because I think every time I turn mine on, it gets hot. Good. Hello. Oh, y'all can hear me without it busting your eardrums. That is awesome. Good morning. I am Laura Savage, formerly Demand, then formerly Savage, back to Demand, but I'm sticking with Savage. If you have not noticed, it is summertime, and it's hot, horribly hot. And every summer we think this is the hottest it's ever been, which I think yesterday technically we did break a record by like 2 or 3 degrees. But the day before, I got a little reminder on Facebook, on this day, last year, it was 107. So apparently we did have some heat last summer. I'm about done with it though. But because it's summer, a lot of people go on vacation. And because it's so hot, one of the more common places for people to go is to the beach or the pool where there's water. Of course, where there's water, there's the risk of drowning. So, you have to abide by certain safety rules. One of which is, when you're in the water, don't overexert yourself or you could drown. You get tense, you start fighting against the water, you're going to sink. Instead, what you need to do is relax and trust the water to carry you. Our spiritual lives are much the same way. The more we try to control what's going on around us and the situations we find ourselves in, the more stress and angst we put on ourselves, the deeper we drown in the stress, the harder it is to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we can and often do damage our own health in the process. Our bodies can only take so much. I think it's safe to say all of us here are aware of the vicious cycle that happens. We get busier and busier and busier, and we get more and more tired. But if we don't stop the busyness, then we drop the ball, and then we're in trouble. People are mad at us, so we've got to keep going, but we're still so tired, and it's just this vicious cycle. And for some of us, I won't say who, don't know how to slow down. We've gotten so used to the busyness, we've kind of become one of those hamsters in the wheel. And if we stop running, guess what? We're going to get thrown out of the wheel. So we got to keep running. But others of us are afraid of what might happen if we do slow down. Suddenly we may not feel like we're as needed as we want to feel. People can get along without us, and we don't want to face that reality, so we keep going. The truth is, we were designed to be still. We were designed to rest and recoup and regenerate our power stores. In the very first book of the Bible, it talks about rest. Jesus created the universe and all that's in it, everyone that's in it, the animals of the air, the animals of the land, the animals of the sea. And then what did he do? He rested. So if God can rest, who do we think we are to be more important than him and not sit down for 15 minutes? Or not take on that additional role in the PTA? Life will go on. I can promise you, no matter who you are, every one of you in here is wonderful. You are amazing beings, wonderful individuals created by God. But none of you have responsibilities in your daily lives that can't be filled by somebody else. You weren't born at a desk doing data entry. Somebody else was doing it before you ever got there. Somebody will be doing it after you leave. Physicians have a very important job, life-saving jobs, but they still rotate being on call to let each other rest. Teachers have substitutes. I'm here today because David is on vacation, resting and rejuvenating himself in his spiritual tank and spending time with his family. So no matter what you do, there's always somebody else that can come fill in for you so you can rest. The U.S. is notoriously one of the most unhealthy countries in the world because we have it in our heads that we must be working to earn the money to reach certain social statuses or just to make ends meet because the cost of living is so crazily expensive. We think our kids have to be in all of these extracurricular activities, so we're squeezing in their schedules into our work schedules, and when we get off work, then we're doing this and we're doing that, and we're taking them here and we're going there, and then we get home and there wasn't enough time to cook, so we either grab something quick on the way home, which is not going to be healthy for the most part, or we throw something in the microwave when we get home. And then we're so worn out, we can't shut our minds off to go to bed and actually get sleep. So then we wake up the next day sleep deprived, and the vicious cycle starts all over again. That kind of lifestyle puts us at risk for heart disease, for cancer, for stroke, for high cholesterol, for anxiety, depression, weight gain, weight loss. The list can go on and on. So what are we running ourselves in the ground for? What's the purpose? There's an awful misconception that's been floating around for generations that we are being selfish and uncaring if we say, hey, I really would love to take some time off. Somebody asks you to do something and you hate to say no because you don't want to look mean, but you really don't know how you're going to squeeze in one more responsibility. But we hate to say no, so we don't. And then we're running ourselves further in the ground to be nice. The truth is, we're created to rest. We're not a renewable natural resource. I hate to break it to you, but we're not. Maybe, but for a short period of time, we're not an infinite source of energy unless we rest. For those of you who have ever flown on an airplane, you know they have the flight attendant has the little spiel. You can use your seat as a flotation device, keep your seatbelts on when the seatbelt light's on, and if there's a change in cabin pressure, oxygen masks drop down. And what does the flight attendant tell you to do? Put yours on first, and then help the person next to you. The reason you're supposed to do that is so that you have air, you have oxygen to be able to keep going and to be of help to those around you. If you're being nice and giving your mask to somebody else, you're not going to last very long. As the adage goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you've exerted all of your resources and you've given so much of yourself to everybody else, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. Just as God took time off to rest, He repeatedly tells us to do the same thing. There's a lot of repeated themes in the Bible. It's as if folks back then just didn't get it. Oddly enough, 2,000 years later, we're still having to be retold repeatedly because we still don't get it. All throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament are scriptures telling us how important it is to rest. And it's so important, God even gives it to us in the fourth commandment. Take the Sabbath and make it holy. That's not just one day of the week. What He means is take a period of rest and use it to glorify God. In Leviticus 25, we also learn it's not just people that need rest. Animals in the land need it as well. The 25th chapter of Leviticus tells us, the Lord said to Moses at Mount Sinai, tell the people of Israel this, when you enter the land I will give you, let it have a special time of rest to honor the Lord. You may plant your seed in the field for 6 years, and you may trim your vineyards for 6 years to bring in their fruits. But during the 7th year, you must let the land rest. We know what happens when there's overcropping. The land becomes infertile. Erosion sets in and washes everything away. This 7th year will be a special time to honor the Lord. You must not plant seed in your field or trim your vineyards. You must not cut the crops that grow by themselves after harvest, or gather the grapes from your vines that are not trimmed. The land will have a year of rest. You may eat whatever the land produces during that year of rest. It will be food for your male and female servants, for your hired workers, and for the foreigners living in your country. It will also be food for your cattle and the wild animals of your land. Whatever the land produces may be eaten. And then the shortest and simplest order comes from Psalm 46 that says, be still and know that I am God. Notice God doesn't say just be still. Hush, sit down, quiet. He says be still and know. Jesus was obviously a very busy guy. He was preaching and healing and traveling all over the world, all over the place, the world as they knew it. But even he took time periodically to be alone with the Father. so that he could clarify his mission and what his priorities needed to be. And likewise, we have to be prepared and to know it is okay. Listen, it is okay to say no to some things. It is okay to say, I'd love to, but I can't right now. It's okay. What's important is we need to know when we rest what we're doing and who we're doing it for. As you can tell by my accessory today, I hate this thing, by the way. But I have to have it because 2 weeks ago I had knee surgery and was banished to bed rest. And I can remember asking the doctor specifically as they wheeled me back out to the car after surgery, when can I go back to work? And he said, oh, not until I see you again on the 23rd. Now, I was in a little bit of a fog from the anesthesia, so I couldn't do the math in my brain, but my surgery was on the 9th, and he's telling me I can't come back to the 23rd, and all I could think of was that is a long time. It is. There's a reason. I needed to heal. I was going to have to be still. And for the first few days, with the help of my pain meds, it was great. It was fantastic, except for daytime TV. That stinks. But I was able to lay on the couch, and my son fixed my food and brought it to me. He did the dishes. He was taking out the trash. I didn't have to get up at 5:30 every morning to go to work. It was fantastic. By day 6, geez, I'm not even halfway done yet. I was starting to get bored. Daytime TV was really starting to stink. Netflix had become my best friend for a couple of days. Then I got restless and bored. My son went off to spend a week with his dad, and suddenly I had no one catering to me. I was feeling unloved and isolated, stuck, sitting on the couch. This kind of healing I wasn't digging at all. And then on day 7, it dawned on me. The reason I was getting so frustrated was because, yes, I was letting my body rest, but I wasn't letting my mind rest. I kept thinking about and feeling guilty about all the things at work my extended absence was requiring someone else to do. I was stressing about all the housework that needed to get done, the sermon I needed to write, the bills that were going to be coming in from the surgery. And the more I thought, the less I could think. And I started feeling overwhelmed. And once I let my mind be still, I was able to gain some clarity. I was able to get through the writer's block. I was able to hear what God wanted me to say. And I was able to line up friends and resources to take care of what needed to be taken care of. And you know the feeling. Life gets messy. We deal with all of these stressors that adulting requires. And before we know it, we are more focused on those stressors and all the things that could go wrong and are going wrong, instead of focusing on being still and listening for God. Moving and busyness can be a good thing. It can mean you're being productive, you're getting stuff done, theoretically. It means we're growing, we're doing for others, we're being good citizens. But movement can also be exhausting. It can be a way to run away from some of the things we really need to stop and face. It can exhaust us physically and mentally. So we must be careful how we move. Please take my advice, be careful how you move so you don't end up with this. And we must remember that being still doesn't mean don't move. It means to, after an injury or surgery, one might be required to go to physical therapy. The reason we go to physical therapy is to learn the correct way to move said injured part of body so it promotes healing and it doesn't inflict further damage. We need to do the same thing with our minds as well. There are numerous scriptures in the Bible that emphasize the importance of being still, and today's Gospel of Mark is no different, but it takes it a step further and shows us that when you are still, great things can happen. There's great power in being still. Jesus and his disciples had been traveling and performing miracles, mingling with crowd after crowd after crowd, town after town after town. They were tired. And they were so busy, they had forgotten to eat. So Jesus says, come on, let's get in the boat, let's float, let's get away from the crowd and the distraction, and let's take some time off. And they did. It doesn't say how long they were afloat, just that they went away. But when they came back, they were performing wonderful works and miracles left and right. So if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, or going through some particularly tough struggles, take today's message as your free pass to know it's okay to be still, and to know that there is great power in being still. Because with that stillness, you are focusing on the physical and spiritual power that only God can give you in order for you to love and serve others in his name.